Who loves a good solo session now and again? I know I do. The feeling of getting out there, just yourself and Mother Nature as one, can be amazing. And you know what? It can be very therapeutic as well. Just yourself, your bike, and no one to really bother you. It's a great way of just going exploring, be it escaping the pressures of everyday life, going for a solo session to find new areas, or if you're actually out on a training session all by yourself. Whatever it is, riding solo can be great, but there's a few things worth knowing, a few little tips and tricks, if you like, to take with you on the way to keep you healthy, safe, and have a really fun ride. And today, I'm going to share a few of those with you. Heading out for a big solo epic, well, it can be absolutely epic. However, taking enough food and water with you can be crucial to stop you getting into any sticky situations along the way. So here's a little overview, if you like, of kind of what you should be taking and how often you should be taking it, food and water-wise. If you're heading out for an all-dayer, or certainly for multiple hours, then having a bike that can carry 2 water bottles is massively beneficial. You can fill them both up and they're right there to hand for you to swig away it as and when you need. If, like this bike, you can only fit the 1 bottle on, then having a hydration backpack of some description with you is a great substitute. It means you can carry that and obviously some bits and pieces at the same time. Now, look to be taking on roughly 500 ml of water or liquid every hour or so, just to stop you getting dehydrated and also keep the energy levels nice and high. Energy drinks like high in electrolytes and salts are really useful here. Avoid that sugary crap. You don't want to be taking none of that in. It's just going to do you no good. It's horrible stuff. Now, this is a rough guideline. Obviously, it can depend on the intensity of the ride, the weather. If it's really hot, you're going to become dehydrated even quicker, and just how much water or liquid your body processes. Everybody's different, so it changes a little bit for everyone. As for food, taking it in little and often is the way to go. Look at eating every roughly 45 minutes. It just gives your body a better chance of digesting it rather than stuffing your face with a big old sandwich or a load of bloomin' full English breakfast at lunchtime or before you head out on a ride. It's just going to make you feel sick along the way and your body can't process it very well. Look for things like energy bars and energy gels. They're a great way of taking on all the essential bits and pieces that you need whilst taking up very little space, so being able to carry a lot of them. But bear in mind, they aren't an actual substitute for proper food. Just be sensible with it. If you are planning a route to do yourself, which we'll get onto a bit later in this video, then have a little think about food and drink stops along the way. They can be great things for just getting you out of trouble and keeping the supplies topped up, if you like, or if you don't want to take too much to begin with, planning stops along the way. You're all prepped then on your food and drink, and you kind of got it sussed. You're self-sufficient there. But what happens if your bike breaks when you're out on the trail, out in the middle of nowhere with no one around? Well, you're going to need the right tools for the job, and there are a few bare minimums I would suggest always taking with you. So let's first up take a look. On this bike, we're just out riding the local trail centre, if you like. So I've got a handy little multi-tool with a chain tool on it, which can get me out of most situations. If not, I can get back to the car. But if you're a long way away, then I would suggest a comprehensive multi-tool with all the various torque bits and Allen keys on it. A chain breaker is always really helpful, as is a spare power link or master link for the chain, so that you can always be able to repair it. On top of the multi-tool and chain tool and things like that, then you're obviously going to need to be able to fix punctures, because they do happen, sadly, even with tubeless tyres. So taking a spare inner tube, at least one, is really helpful. CO2 canisters, a great lightweight way of reinflating your tyres quickly as well, but you can't rely on them, so I'd often take a very small little mini compact hand pump as well. Puncture repair patches, pre-glued, they're tiny. You might as well chuck them in, they don't really take up any space. And a great way of carrying all this is either you can get gear straps now and so strapping it to your frame so you don't have to have it in your pockets if you don't want to, or in a saddle bag maybe. You know, it is a popular way of carrying things as well. But like back to hydration, if you are taking a hydration pack, then well, get that stuff off the bike and get it in the backpack, and then it's out the way and all compact, carried nicely together. So those are the basics I would always take with me on a good solo session. But if you want to go further, then you can take a few extra things, such as a spare gear cable. Now these can often work obviously for your gears, and a lot of dropper posts as well, so it can get you out of kind of fix two birds with one stone with that one. And something that's specific to the bike, so like a spare mech hanger. It's only small, so it doesn't really take up much space to chuck in as well. Like I said, I think that's pretty much everything without going too overboard or too overkill to be able to get you out of most sticky situations. Pre-planning your route can be a great way of making the most of your solo rides, and is a great way as well of exploring new areas. Now here at GMBN, we use Komoot to help us plan out our big epic solo rides that you see me do now and again, and the other guys do as well. And do you know what? It helps us explore new areas that we didn't know existed before as well. It's really broadening our horizons. And do you know what? By pre-planning your route as well, it's actually safer. If you've got a route in mind that you're going to do, then it's worth sharing with someone so that they know where you're going as well. Should the worst happen, then they can roughly figure out where you are exactly, rather than sort of guessing that you've just gone from A to B and God knows what route you've taken to get there. Now, if you're not a fan of using apps, then you might be a bit more old school and want to use maps. They're also a great way of discovering new areas. They can be taken with you, you can use them, they still show all the details and things like that, so they're also a really great tool just for helping you explore. Now, we've talked about pre-planning your route and that this can actually be a great thing for safety so people know where you're going, but there are a few other things you can do or take with you on your solo rides just to make you safer as well. Now, this next little safety point is probably an absolutely crucial one. It's one of these bad boys. Now, pretty much all of us have got mobile phones these days, and they obviously do so much more than just phone people now. You know, you've got GPS on here, you've got various plotting apps to find your way in or out of things, maps, compass. You can put your emergency contact details in there, things like even blood type, allergies, and God knows what else. So if the emergency services need to come and help you, they've got all that information as well. Another great bit of tech that can be a real good safety feature is one of these. If you do use a bike computer, then they've got a lot of built-in safety features these days, which can be really beneficial. Now, again, we've got a Garmin one here, and it has something called Live Track, which essentially beams out your location as you ride. So, you know, if someone knows your route, they can also follow you along it if it's a particularly wild one. These things are great. They've also got a thing called incident detection built into them. So basically, clever little accelerometers and various other sensors in there detect if this thing should take a large enough hit or decelerate quick enough that it thinks it could be a crash. Now, when that does happen, it will send out an emergency message and email to your contacts list that you've saved away in there, which will tell them your exact location. It's not just Garmin, a lot of manufacturers will have these built-in safety features. You're just going to have to probably root around in the settings and look where they are to turn them on. And should you not have a bike computer, well, even something like WhatsApp has a live track, so you can use it on your phone. You're just going to have something on you at least, I'm afraid. Now, there's no right or wrong bike for those solo sessions. Granted, some of them are a little bit more suited than others. For example, if you can take multiple bottles or easily attach tools and things to them, but there is no right or wrong. However, before you do set out, make sure your bike is up to the task in hand. The basic M check is a great way of going over your bike just to make sure that at least the very basics are working properly. So starting at the back wheel, up to the seat post and seat area, down to the bottom bracket, up to the headset, and down to the front wheel, front brake area as well. Just go over all the bolts, make sure everything's tight, running nice and smoothly. If you want to go more in depth, then you can look at things like, are your brakes bled and up to scratch? Haven't got any little air bubbles and don't feel spongy? Is your suspension okay? Maybe it needs a service if you're doing a lot of rides over the winter, things like that. I know mine probably does about now. And even things like tyre wear, no potential slits or cracks or breaking in there anywhere at all. And yeah, just make sure it's up to scratch before you head out there. Nothing worse than going out and then finding it breaking 10 miles in. That's always a stinker. That's it then. Thank you very much for joining me on this solo session of a video. Hopefully you've learned a few things. You'll be a bit safer and a bit better equipped next time you head out there on your own. As always, don't forget, why not hit the old subscribe button and give us a little thumbs up along the way. Do you know what? I'd love to hear a few of the things that you guys do to prep for solo rides. And what? Ride safe, have fun out there, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers, everybody.